Will Biden drop out of the race with Democrats begging? Will the lawfare ever end? And is France, are they going blue? Stick around and find out.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
We don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street. There's nobody anywhere seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living room. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad.
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet. Wait a minute, I tell you ain't heard nothing.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell! I'm not going to take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna
take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore!
Welcome to another exciting David Pollack show. Of course, as always, I'm joined by my plush pal, Puppet. Can I say that 3 times fast? Plush
I don't know, can you?
Pal, Puppet, Carlson, on a very
All right,
special
wait,
day.
you got to try it 3 times.
Plush pal, Puppet, plush pal, Puppet, plush pal, Puppet. Everybody at home, say it with me. Your plush pal, Puppet. I think everybody can do it. I can do it. I mean,
You did good.
thank you very much. Today's a special day, Puppet. You want to know why?
I know why.
Why, Puppet?
You want me to tell everyone else?
Yeah, you can break the news. I thought you would pop out of a cake.
Yeah, well, I was going to pop out of a cake, but I didn't have a cake, and then my suit would get all messed up, and then...
Like Biden's when he was standing on that railing at 4th of July?
Had a shit stain on his
I
suit.
don't know what he popped out of,
like-
but I think it had an enema in it.
That was really bad. Well, aside from that, I don't think that you've got anything on your jacket just yet, but maybe by the end of this broadcast,
God.
your jacket will be covered in birthday cake, because today is my very good friend and co-host, David Pollack's birthday.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, listen, I could have taken the night off.
You could have.
But I didn't.
Shows your dedication to the audience.
You know, if I'm going to have a birthday celebration, who would I want to rather have a birthday celebration with than all of the people who have helped over the last year help me build this show? So this is right where I want to be for my birthday. I mean, what a birthday present, getting to hang out with everybody here in the X Spaces listening live, people over on Pill, people on Rumble, people on X watching. This is where I want to spend my birthday because I think it was about 4 years ago, Puppet, that I said, you know what? I think it was my 40th birthday. My wife made a This Is Your Life video, and it wasn't a funeral, even though it felt like one. And I was like, don't make that video. And so it was a This Is Your Life video, and I'm watching my whole life go by, and I'm getting emotional. I'm not an emotional guy. And she's like, why are you getting emotional? It's because, Larry, you're getting older. No, I'm getting emotional because here I am, 40 years old 4 years ago, and I haven't checked anything off my bucket list yet, and I'm running out of time. So I ran for public office, almost won, started working in politics, started working on campaigns, started making a name for myself there, and then I started this show. Well, it was a radio show for a year, and then it turned into this podcast with my plush pal Puppet. And so it has been a 4-year journey of me deciding I'm going to change my life and do something different, and here I am. And so I am humbled to be able to have this audience and have this show. So, of course, this is where I'm going to be on my birthday. And, of course, I appreciate the support of my family and allowing me to do all this because this is where I spend my time.
Well,
But I
I'm
appreciate
excited
being
to be
here.
here with you.
Yeah.
And I that was really nice. I don't think that many people look back on their life and say, you know, I haven't done anything yet. So what I really need to do is get into politics.
Well,
You're a sick man, David
it was
Pollack.
2020,
A
man.
sick man.
Listen, the government was telling me I couldn't leave my house without a mask on.
Yeah.
They were trying to force people to get vaccines. They were telling the kids they couldn't go to school anymore. And when they did go to school, they had to have masks on. They're telling babies that they had to keep masks on. I saw what they were doing to Trump, and I saw some of the election integrity issues. The world was falling apart. And what am I going to do? Sit around and bitch about it with my friends and do nothing, or do something? So ran for office, got involved in politics, started a damn show. So I was going to talk about it and spread the word. And so that's, I guess, a good message for everybody. You don't have to take it. You can do something about it. If you're mad as hell and you don't want to take it anymore, do something about it.
Well, that's really what we need more of, is doing something, right? Well, I could have been anything when I grew up out of that My Pillow factory, but I became a political pundit, because I wanted to do something.
A plush pundit. A plush. A plush pillow pundit pal puppet.
There. Well, try
that one.
Plush pillow puppet pundit pal puppet. But later tonight I'm taking you out for your birthday.
All right. Well, then maybe I'll get the. Gosh, I don't want to get anything on my jacket, puppet.
Well, you can take the jacket off. just for tonight.
All right. Well, tonight we got an exciting show, puppet. Let me tell you what we're doing tonight. So, in just a moment, I'm going to welcome our guest, my new good friend Kelly Walker. He's with Freedom Talk, great show. He talks a lot about lawfare and weaponization injustice. That's where the title came from. He's just started a new newsletter, and we're going to talk about that too, and a new site. And so he's got a lot of good stuff going on. And he's had an interesting life too with lawfare at school boards, and I'll let him tell his story. But, they tried to throw him in jail basically because he wanted to come to school board meetings and say what he believed, God forbid, right? This is one of these school board terrorists. And so we're going to talk. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk to him. Just say, as a matter of fact, well, I'll tell you what else is we're going to talk about. Then I'll bring him in. And then when we bring in our panel tonight, we have a newer familiar face on our panel, Amanda Elizabeth from Raise Right Books. But we also have a very, very new special panelist tonight. I'm not going to tell you the name because I like to surprise you. So we have two. What? Who are you talking to?
You. I'm talking to you.
I'm not telling you.
I'm looking at you.
Yeah, no, I'm not telling you. You'll find out when they come on. So it's going to be an exciting show. And when they come on, we're going to talk about Biden in church and having be given money to tithe with. To give money. To give money. And we're going to talk about France's blue wave. It's kind of scary. I got lots of video, lots of things to show you. Going to be an exciting show. But without further ado, let's bring in Mr. Kelly Walker. Welcome him to the David Pollack Show. Kelly, thank you for joining us tonight. Welcome to my show with my plush pundit puppet pal. What are we calling you?
You messed it up. It's plush pundit. No. I don't know. Political puppet pundit plush pal puppet. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll make it up. There's a lot of P's there, though. Yeah. Can you do it, Kelly? Can you say it really fast? Four or five times?
Plush puppet pal, was that it?
We're gonna give it to you.
Close enough.
We're gonna give it to you now. Kelly, I know you have a lot of titles. You're the host of the Freedom Talk, which is your podcast. You're also the comms director for the Lindell Offense Fund, and we had Mike Lindell a couple of weeks ago to talk about the election integrity efforts. And
you knew that, right, Kelly?
Mike Lindell's I did. Yep.
Yeah, that's his father. So now, Mike, we did a Maury Povich type situation. We were like, "You're not the father," but now Mike Lindell was like totally caught off guard. By the way, he didn't have his voice. He's like, "I'm being set up. What is this? Why is there a puppet here?" He was confused, and then he was made to believe that now he is going to have child support obligations for this thing, because as you may have heard, Puppet Carlson was born in a My Pillow factory. One night after a late night. Mike Lindell was working, thinking about all the great ways to save up to 80% at mypillow.com, promo code Pollack. And he was thinking about all the ways he could do that. And he was up late, really working hard to give everybody a comfortable night's sleep so they don't get woke, right? And then one night, he sees a falling star and he just makes a wish. He says, I wouldn't have to work nearly as hard if there were more perfect conservatives on this planet. And out of that wish, and maybe a slight tear, that night, My Pillow formed into what you see today. He formed
That's
into
right.
Puppet Carlson. He turned into a real boy puppet.
That's right.
And now we have the perfect
rant and rave about politics.
Yes.
And I became a political pundit puppet. Pal.
Yeah. And now we have the perfect conservative puppet.
It seems to me that the child support could be paid in Monopoly money, however. That would be.
It works. Well, we take My Pillow. We take the slippers.
My Pillow credit bucks.
Yes, Giza Dream Sheets. We'll take any day. Very comfortable, softest cotton I've ever felt.
Yes. I've got a Giza Dream crotch.
Yeah. See. Anyway, so Kelly, you do a lot of cool stuff. Let's see. I want to introduce you to the audience and hear a little bit about your backstory and how you got into this movement, how you got here. And then we'll talk about going forward. So what is your origin story, good sir?
Oh, my gosh. I wasn't born in a pillow factory, first of all. But,
yeah,
boring.
I know. It's just an organic thing, boring. But I started working for Mike Lindell about 3 months ago. Never knew I'd be doing that. I had seen him at a lot of different events. And I always thought, man, he's super busy, but he's also really, really friendly. He's one of the few people who will stop and just hug everybody, shake everybody's hand, get pictures with everybody. So through certain circumstances, it was great. I'm working for him now, writing media releases and articles and doing various things, going to events. So he's every bit what he portrays himself as, just a great patriot. Like me, he's just a normal guy, a businessman who got caught up in the fight for our country. So and I actually met I met Sharona Bishop, who brought me into the fold with Lindell Offense Fund, because I asked her to be a part of a group that I was putting together to go to Washington, D.C. this last spring to talk with 5 congressional teams about Merrick Garland, the Biden administration, and the National School Board Association colluding on this, what 14, 18, I think, state attorneys general called a massive fraud against the American people. And that was portraying and designating school parents as domestic terrorists. I wrote some articles on it, researched it, and I found some FOIA emails from the NSBA to the government that showed that I was actually the only person specifically identified, the first person identified. I was like the poster child, right? Which made sense that they went after my family, that they really threw everything they had at us, because supposedly I'm a domestic terrorist for advocating for a child who was forced to wear a mask against his will, quarantined even though he was healthy, took the mask off, threw it in the garbage, and was forced to pick it out of the garbage and put it back on his face. And somehow I'm the terrorist because I spoke out. So this was actually my second arrest. My first arrest was 2020, very early on, because Pima County, which is full of communists leading the county into the pit of hell, basically targeted our coffee shop, which we had in Tucson at the time, fraudulently portrayed us as non-compliant with the stupid COVID regulations, even though we never failed to pass an inspection from the health department. So that's a very quick way of saying that since 2020, I've been highly targeted by the government. My family's been persecuted. And I had to make a decision, David. Am I going to try to keep my head low and just ride this out? But it really wasn't a decision. I decided, look, we have to fight back. And after that first false arrest, which was televised, we had people coming in droves into our coffee shop, even from other states. We got a lawyer due to some donations, and the lawyer was trying to negotiate a $2 million settlement for false arrest because the arrest was dropped. It was, I mean, if you watch the video, you'll see it was obviously a false arrest, but the settlement came with a gag order, meaning I couldn't say any more about it. So we fired the lawyer and turned down the potential settlement offer because we decided we've got to fight for our country. Because way back in 2020, I saw what was happening. I saw what was coming. I was working as editor-in-chief for a national medical education publication. I knew about mRNA vaccines, for example, before most people even knew about them. I knew about this new virus before it had a name. So I was in this place where I was able to see clearly. Now, running a business, we wanted to make everyone feel comfortable, but we became targeted simply because we had flags in the window when other people were putting the BLM stickers in the window and such. Because we held Back the Blue events, we were targeted. So, gosh, we've been fighting for darn near about 4 years now. And I've worked very, very hard to get to know people across the nation, members of Congress, you might say conservative celebrities, other types. Started my show just with the camera on my computer, camera and mic on my computer, and I've worked hard. I have a background. I have a bachelor's in English and a master of science degree. So I started a publication called Freedom Talk. There was a lapse when we moved and did some other things, but I just started it again. We have a June and July issue. And as you know, David, the July issue is on lawfare, because lawfare is something that's been thrown at us well before Trump was indicted, well before Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro were thrown in jail. I was sentenced to 100 days in jail and a $10,000 fine for talking. I was singled out among 3 dads. They were each given small fines and plea deals, and they tried to play hardball with me. So I started studying, what did our founders say when our system is corrupt? We all know the DOJ is corrupt. There's a 2-tiered justice system. They're carrying water for not only the Biden administration, but for the Chinese Communist Party. What do we do? The founders knew what was coming. So I embarked on that study, and I made some decisions as to how I was going to fight back, because I'm not a wealthy man. I'm just a guy. I work very, very hard. My wife would tell you in a good way, I'm breathtakingly stubborn. But having been arrested twice, having been targeted, I have always been a real student of history, a student of the founding of this country. And I made some discoveries that I'd like to share with you, depending on how much time we have. So that's a little bit of the background, the quick and dirty, you might say.
Yeah, and that's what I was excited to have you on tonight, because and I talked about it in the space. As you know, we're simulcasting in X Spaces right now. And I'm trying not to use the T word anymore, because I believe it hurts you in the algorithm.
Yeah.
But we were talking about this before, and it seems that, and I'm a lawyer, and it offends my sense of justice when you see the judicial system basically finding the target and then finding the crime to apply to the target in order to have a preordained outcome. And the perfect example of that are these January 6 cases, where they basically were like, well, we want to call these people bad people. Now, nobody's been charged with insurrection, but they are charged with some Enron shredding documents charge. And then once the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that, they're like, we'll charge them with other things. And it's like, you've experienced yourself. We've seen it with Donald Trump. And what we see is a relentless pursuit of a punishment.
Persecution.
Yeah, it's a relentless pursuit of punishment.
Once you get on their list.
And then they just find the crime to apply to you.
Yeah,
and I think this upsets and makes a lot of people afraid, right?
I'm on FBI lists. We had, even after that first arrest, we had on social media death threats against my family, horrible things. FBI didn't care about that. They were going to investigate me because I'm a patriot, because I love my country. You know, it's absolutely egregious. I've been talking to a number of congressmen about it. I've written articles about it, and I found out that John Carruth, who's the superintendent of schools in Vail, Arizona, which is near Tucson, set this whole thing up and used the law as a weapon against me. And people say, well, why don't you sue? Why didn't you sue on that first arrest, the second one? Well, first of all, we can't afford that. Not only monetary, but in terms of just the angst, the time that it takes. You know, I'm sole provider for my family. But I think more importantly, and my wife could tell you this too, one of the reasons we didn't sue, besides not being able to afford it, was we wanted to focus on helping our country. We wanted to focus on other people, because we could have taken that $2 million or whatever they negotiated it down to and gone off and gotten a house and lived a life. We ended up losing our house due to this fight. We've lost a lot of things, which is really par for the course, but we didn't feel like we could do that. I wasn't at January 6th. I've been treated very similarly, but we actually took in recently, I think you know this, David, a 2-year-old little boy of Felicia, who was sent to prison for walking on the public property, the Capitol grounds. And we were prepared to keep the little boy for 4 years, take him into our house. Thank God she came out of the court with only 45 days. So, including travel and everything, we had a little 2-year-old boy for about 2 months with our 3 kids that are at home. But, Matthew Lohmeyer, if you know Matthew Lohmeyer, is former lieutenant colonel in the Space Force. We just found out that he lost his retirement because he spoke out against DEI. He had been dismissed from the service for writing a great book called, Irresistible Revolution, about Marxism in the military. But something that Matthew said to me a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, really resonates with me, David, because he said, I've lost all of these things for taking a stand. And he said, but Kelly, I'm glad that I lost them, because if I came out of that with those things, I haven't given enough for my country. I thought, man, what a guy, and my friend, Congressman Eli Crane from Arizona, just recently posted here on X about Matthew Lohmeyer now losing his retirement, and said, people ask me all the time, said Eli Crane, what does it take to save this country? And Eli said, it takes people like this, and I forget the exact quote, but people like this who are willing to put everything on the line. And there are people like Matthew Lohmeyer. There are people, very prominent people like Donald Trump. But I'm trying to help and point out just the average Joes, and there are many of them who have put everything on the line, but who don't necessarily make the headlines. And I'm fighting for them. I'm continuing to fight for them. So I met with Congress about this, some members of Congress. I know they have a lot on their plates. There are some huge issues. It's an election year, but we haven't really moved the ball forward very much yet, but we're still working on it, because the state attorneys general who wrote this letter, and then Congress came in, Jim Jordan, the Committee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government against the people, basically came out and said, this was wrong what you did. Merrick Garland was made to admit that it was inappropriate. That the National School Board Association issued an apology, and that's all good and great, but we still have Jennifer Mahuta, whose family had to flee to Texas, who was put in the county prison for 5 days to, quote unquote, teach her a lesson. We still have my family that my wife still deals with, really PTSD, because when people can come knocking on your door at any time to arrest you, to harass you, you're getting death threats, you're getting threats to have your children murdered. This is all a gaping wound that's still open. These people have suffered. They've lost jobs, they've lost careers, they've lost homes. I'll tell you something, it's tough, David, but just like Matthew Lohmeyer said, it's something we're willing to do for this country. I'd rather it not be so. We yearn for justice every day. And it's not the worst thing in the world. We're renting a home. We moved from Arizona. We're in another state now. We're renting a home. We worked very, very hard to get into a home. We had our yard. It's nice to have that. It's not the worst thing in the world to lose that, especially when you know about what the founders of this country went through. What's difficult for me is to watch this lawfare, which, by the way, you can read about in the playbook of the Chinese Communist Party, Unrestricted Warfare. Unrestricted Warfare. You can read about lawfare. It's a strategy that they came up with and started employing a long time ago. What's difficult for me is to see people be passive about all of this, to see people not really respond, or maybe vent on social media but not do anything. As you know, Steve Bannon recently went to prison. I think it's admirable what he's doing. I think it's going to make his voice more amplified and more powerful. But I had actually communicated with him the idea of what if we were to defy those things? What if we were to do like the founders said? Let me read you something real quick, because, and I don't think Steve could have gotten away with this. That was my choice. I defied it. I said, I'm not going to jail for doing the right thing. I'm sole provider for my family. I'm not going to put my family through that. But listen to what Thomas Jefferson said. He said, a strict observance of the written laws is doubtless one of the high duties of a good citizen. So, in other words, we all talk about the rule of law. We all want to be good citizens, right? But Thomas Jefferson said, it's not the highest. The laws of necessity, of self-preservation, of saving our country when in danger are of higher obligation. To lose our country by a scrupulous adherence to written law would be to lose the law itself, with life, liberty, property, and all those who are enjoying them with us, thus absurdly sacrificing the end of the means. The law of self-preservation authorizes," and then he goes on from there, it authorizes us to say, this law is unjust. There's a higher law, and some people are starting to talk about this. It's natural rights, our God-given rights. The Constitution we think of as the highest law, but it's simply an enumeration of the natural rights that we have given by God. So here's another thing. John Locke, which was very influential on the founding of this country, he wrote, "Any single man must judge for himself whether circumstances warrant obedience or resistance to the commands of the civil magistrate. We are all qualified, entitled, and morally obliged to evaluate the conduct of our rulers. This political judgment, moreover, is not simply or primarily a right, but like self-preservation, a duty to God. As such, it is a judgment that men cannot part with according to the God of nature. It is the first and foremost of our inalienable rights, without which we can preserve no other." So I have to ask the question, David, because I also believe in the rule of law, but I don't believe in the rule of by law. The law is supposed to be there to protect citizens, not to be wielded as a weapon to beat them into submission. So I have to ask, how many political prisoners does it take before we say enough is enough? How many people need to go to prison like Felicia did, into a prison that they had to close down while she was there because it was called the rape prison of the country? That bad. For doing what? And 3 years later, or my friend Siaka Massaquoi, who was detained by the FBI returning from an event in Nashville. How much of this do we take before we do what Samuel Adams did? In 1774, Governor Gage of Boston warned Adams that he needs to straighten up and fly right and start cooperating. This would benefit him, might even enrich him if he did this, or he was going to be arrested. Let me tell you what Samuel Adams' response was. "Go tell Governor Gage that my peace has long since been made with the King of Kings. And the advice of Samuel Adams is to no longer insult the feelings of an already exasperated people. And if we're not exasperated now, there's something wrong, because what we're facing is worse. I submit worse than what the founders of this country faced." And what did Samuel Adams do? He's called the father of the revolution. He told his own governor to go pound sand. He and John Hancock fled. They refused to be arrested. They refused to go to prison, and they started a revolution. And I'm not necessarily saying start a whole revolution and overturn the government, but what I am saying is at some point we've got to practice what I call the art of defiance. We've got to stop recognizing unjust authority and push back. I think, honestly, and I've talked to some congressmen about this, I'm talking to people about it currently, some states ought to declare themselves as sanctuary states for political persecution. Because if you're politically persecuted as an American, where do you go? Where do you find sanctuary? We know lawfare is happening. We know it's egregious. We know that the DOJ is compromised and sold out to the Chinese Communist Party. Where do we go? But I also think we as citizens ought to surround people that we know in our community have done nothing wrong, surround them and say, if you want to arrest, David Pollock, you're going to have to arrest all of us. You're going to take all of us in. We're not going to allow that in our community. And really, we need to be decentralized, because we have one senile old man, corrupt, sold out. We have the canceled checks that he was paid from the CCP, paid from Ukraine. We have one person acting as a dictator, telling everyone how to live their lives and what to do. We need to decentralize and take back. Look, Texas did a great job with the border issue. They said, look, this is our state. We're going to exercise our rights, pound sand to Biden. We need to do that on a community level, because the people, I think it was James Madison said, the people are the only legitimate source of power for our country. People talk about certain passages in the Bible, be subject to the governing authorities. Guys, that's us. We're a government of, for, and by the people. We don't owe allegiance to any king, any president who acts like a king. In fact, we have a duty to oppose them. And this is how our country started. This goes back to 1215 with Magna Carta, when some citizens said, King John, you better straighten up and fly right, or you could lose your head. And they made him sign the Magna Carta, which was a precursor to our own declaration, our own constitution. So we have this rich history, and we need look, we don't have to. We think of extremes. We either knuckle under and just comply, or we pick up guns. There's an in between, and I'd like to see it. The in between is that we stand on our natural rights, and we say, "You will not pass." We say, "Nope. You put me through a kangaroo court trial. We all know it's wrong. I have a duty and an obligation to say you as a magistrate are corrupt. You're not doing your job." And we're starting to see a little bit of this. I think it was in Georgia. There was a judge who was disbarred because she was just so egregious in her behavior. The judge in my trial, the magistrate commission there in Tucson, unanimously recommended against reappointing her. They said she was abusive toward parties. She was temperamental and didn't have a basic understanding of the law. This is the so-called judge they gave me.
Yeah,
now,
and it's good that
my natural rights to somebody like that.
Yeah, and it's good that it seems now the pendulum is swinging, and we're starting to get some control here. This is good stuff. I mean, I love hearing the solid foundation in our founding fathers, because that we really do need to go. This is why they want to erase that history, because people forget that where our rights actually come from. They can, if people want to go and learn more about this, obviously, realfreedomtalk.com. Encourage them absolutely to go and subscribe, especially if they're interested in the lawfare issue. And they can get all of that at realfreedomtalk.com?
Yeah, they can go to realfreedomtalk.com, and there's a link to Freedom Talk magazine, and the whole July issue was on lawfare. So we've got Eric Metaxas. Let me go to that page just so I can tell you the articles real quick.
Sure.
So I do an editorial understanding lawfare, some of the basics of where it came from, what's happening, how the DOJ got involved in it, and what they're doing. And then Dr. James Lindsay comes in with an article, Rousing the American Judiciary, saying the awakening of the American judiciary seems to be arriving just in the nick of time, or we hope so. He goes into the roots of the Marxism behind all of this with Antonio Gramsci, Herbert Marcuse, and others. Then we have Alex Newman writing about, his title of his article is Journalism's Fate Unclear as Lawfare Rains Down on InfoWars. Matthew Lohmeyer, who I mentioned, The Woke Wars Word Games, he writes. I wrote one on the Spanish Civil War, which was just before World War II, because it's such a useful story for understanding our times, because the communists and the fascists were at each other's throats. And I think there's some important things to learn there. Eric Metaxas with Muscular Faith, an excerpt from one of his recent books, either Letter to the American Church or Religionless Christianity. I don't remember which.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good one.
Oh, those books are great.
Yeah.
Julie Beeling, who wrote the book Beneath Sheep's Clothing and is now later this month releasing her documentary by the same name, which I watched in advance. She wrote an article, 2 Prerequisites for Effective Lawfare. So, and Christian Hodges, who's just turned 19. You know Christian, I think.
Yeah, Christian's amazing. Yeah.
Freedom or tyranny, you choose. So we wanted to get that millennial. No, not millennial. That's that's too old.
He's like Generation Z or something. That's awesome.
Millennial, but
yeah, well, I think everybody should go and check it out. Just the articles you just mentioned are all brilliant people who I know well. A lot of them,
and also Joe Hoft. What's next after Supreme Court allowed government collusion with big tech and censoring Americans? Yeah. You know, he and his brother Jim is founder of Gateway Pundit. They were part of a lawsuit to the Supreme Court to prevent the federal government from colluding with social media platforms to censor Americans.
Wow.
And they were sent back for so-called lack of standing. So they're getting together more information. I mean, Freedom Talk magazine is not only on the front lines of what's happening. We're really wanting not just to report what's happening, but why, so we can understand it. Because if we understand what's happening, if we understand the history, the roots of it, then we can defeat it. If everything's a surprise and we don't know where all this is coming from, how can we beat it? It's like being having your house broken into without preparation. Why wouldn't you want to be prepared for this and know that it's coming? So
I love it. All right, well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take and guys, go. I highly recommend, if you want to read some interesting. You heard all the. I know some of those people. They're all very, very intelligent, and I'm sure they're gonna have some good articles in there. I'm gonna take a quick break, and then when I come back, and Kelly, you're gonna stick around, because then we're gonna go to the panel.
Yep.
And then we're going to talk about some news from around the world. We're going to talk about whether or not Joe Biden's staying in this race. He's defiant lately and angry. And we're going to talk about France's blue wave. So don't go anywhere, you guys. And while we're at break, of course, make sure you take really good notes about all the sponsors you're going to go and visit. But also don't forget to go check out realfreedomtalk.com. Don't go anywhere.
Subscribe to Freedom Talk Magazine. Unlike Freedom Talk Magazine is free. Freedom's not
free. Who doesn't love free freedom, right? Yep. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back just after this.
David Pollock here. If you're craving the best soft serve ice cream around, Topper's Creamery's got you covered. Serving the Apopka community for over a decade, Topper's is known for the finest old-fashioned custard-style soft-serve ice cream in a variety of flavors, from their French vanilla bean to exciting specials like German chocolate cake. But the experience doesn't end there. Be sure to grab a fresh baked waffle cone or a sundae topped with my favorite, the fresh baked brownies. They even offer pup cups for your four-legged friends. So hurry in to Topper's Creamery in Apopka, South 512 Hunt Club Road. Make sure to tell them David sent you.
With today's economic environment, it's never been more important to secure your hard-earned wealth for you and your family's future. FinSec Life works to offer industry-leading customer service to help successful individuals and businesses protect their wealth. Whether it's a business succession plan, estate liquidity, or a variety of life and long-term care policies, FinSec Life can help deliver peace of mind, knowing that if something happens, you or your company is taken care of. Visit finseclife.com. That's FINSEC life.com. Securities offered through Valmark Security Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Valmark Advisors Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor. FinSec Life is a separate entity from Valmark Securities Inc. and Valmark Advisors Inc.
Business owners, are you sick of dealing with those big-name telecommunications companies that leave you frustrated with terrible customer service and then lock you into long-term contracts? That's why I want to introduce you to my friends over at Public Telephone Company. They are an industry-leading VoIP provider offering all-in-one business communication solutions that are completely contract-free with competitive pricing. But perhaps the best part, they're all about supporting their customers with US-based customer service, and they're always willing to go the extra mile. Don't let your phone company drive you mad. Call Public Telephone Company today at 877-314-4080 or visit them at publictelephonecompany.com. That's publictelephonecompany.com.
Hello, Patriots, listen up. It's time to wake up and smell the freedom. Beard Vet Coffee is here to fuel your American spirit. This isn't just coffee. It's a battle cry in a cup, a declaration of love for the land of the free and the home of the brave. Crafted by the hands of those who've walked the walk, talked the talk, and, grown the damn beard. Vet-founded, vet-focused, and beard-operated. This is coffee with a mission, a purpose, and a testament to the unyielding American spirit. It's a tribute to the tireless resolve that courses through the veins of our great nation. This is the taste of victory, the flavor of freedom, the coffee that stands as firm as our belief in America's destiny to lead and never to kneel. Beard Vet Coffee is more than a brand. It's a legacy steeped in the principles that make America great. It's for those who stand with pride under the stars and stripes, who uphold the values that light the torch of liberty for the world to see. So, are you ready to supercharge your day the American way? Beard Vet Coffee is not just a choice. It's a declaration of independence from mediocre mornings. Bold, brave, unbound. Brewed for the American patriot. Beard Vet Coffee. Make your mornings great again.
Patriotic coffee. Who doesn't love patriotic coffee? All right, guys. There's
I do.
Yeah, right. There is also one new great sponsor I want to tell you about until I have a fancy commercial to replace the patriotic one. And of course, that is my favorite, Raised Right Books. And actually, Amanda Elizabeth will be here in just a second on our panel from Raised Right Books. And if you guys haven't heard about this, I talk about it on the show. If you haven't heard about it, shame on you. You're not paying attention. They have great books that have subtle conservative messaging. If you guys are reading your kids' stories at night, and you should, and you're sick of reading subtle woke messaging about socialist rainbow fish, and you want to read them something that's wholesome, you can go and get these books, titles like Trouble at the Water Park and Claws to the Rescue and Save the Sprouts. And all these books have, like I said, subtle conservative messaging with stories about respecting life and law and order and even Second Amendment done in very creative ways that kids can understand. So go to raisedrightbooks.org, get yourself some of these books right now, and you can buy the 3-pack, and they're really affordable. And so if you want to read your kids some good conservative content, go and do that. Stop reading them socialist woke books. And that's the way to start saving America young. Let's actually, since I'm talking about Amanda, let's bring her right onto the panel, because we're going to go to the panel here now. And welcome Amanda Elizabeth from Raised Right Books, author, and she actually writes these books, and then she has somebody else. Did you draw these, or do you have somebody else? I think you have.
No, I have an illustrator. I am not that talented, unfortunately.
Well, I would say that's pretty good. You draw pretty well if you're even
Yeah.
well. You write well, so
the writing is talent, so that's
Thank you.
important.
Yeah.
How are you, Amanda? Great to have you on the show.
Good. How are you, Puppet?
Good,
Yeah,
good.
It's good to have you back. I'm excited to have you again. And you're going to recognize this next panelist because we were in Bedminster together. And you might remember she goes by the Defender of the Republic. Now here's the thing. Her name is Heidi with a K, so it's Heidi. So I don't have an accent. It's Kaiti. And,
I love it.
And I can't say it because I watched all the seasons of Love on the Spectrum because I think I'm probably on the spectrum. And so I watch them.
Sure.
And then Ronan has his girlfriend, Kaiti. And so
That's
every time I say it, I feel like I'm Ronan. So anyway.
Well, happy birthday, David.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So this is what I want to do on my birthday. I want to spend it with you guys making fun of Joe Biden. So without any further ado, let's make fun of Joe Biden. Now, Biden has been on I guess a tour of proving he's not insane. And so he's been running around and
Yelling
and this morning he decided he's going to call into the Morning Joe and prove just how not crazy he is. Check it out.
Or any age-related illnesses, pre-Parkinson's, or anything like that, that might explain sort of having a night like that where you couldn't finish sentences.
Look, I had I was feeling so badly before the debate. When I came back, they tested me for, I thought maybe I had COVID, maybe there was something wrong. I had an infection or something. They tested me, they gave me those tests, I was clear. So, but look, I had a bad night. But the fact of the matter is, look at what I'm doing. I mean, let me put it this way. If there was something that was wrong that night, it's not like it comes and that's one night and it goes away. That's why I've been out. I've been testing myself, been testing everywhere I go, going out and making the case. The night of that debate, I went out. I was out till 2 o'clock in the morning that very night. That very night, it drives me nuts, people talking about this. That very night, I'm talking to large crowds. Look at the crowds we've gathered everywhere from Atlanta to North Carolina to Pennsylvania, and look at the enthusiasm. But it was right after. And where the hell's Trump been? What has Trump said or done?
Yeah, well, and since he's out everywhere, just showing everybody how great he is, he decides he's gonna, because this is after, of course, there was this young black woman who was at one of his rallies, and he just kind of like walked right by her. She's like, "Hey," he's like, "What do you who let you up here?" And then he goes to a black church to try to kind of smooth things over. And here's this little ditty he does over there.
The South that saved a wretch like me. Oh, I once was lost, but now I found. Was blind, but now I see.
Let us stand together. Oh, at the cross,
at the cross.
Now, he doesn't even stand, by the way. He doesn't know what he's doing. He points to himself, by the way, when she goes, "Wretch like me." He's like pointing at me. And then look, and then there's a part where you're supposed to give money. It's called tithing. Help me, guys. I'm
yeah.
So I'm a Jew. They did take your money at the door. You don't wait for the plate to come around. So then that part comes up, and here's what happens. They have to give him money to give. Check this out. You're not gonna believe this.
Nobody told me that the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. I said for anybody who's ever been discouraged, I don't feel no.
I can't anymore with this.
He was confused because he wanted to know which one of his shell bank accounts to put it in.
Yeah. Biden hasn't met $100 bill he hasn't taken. I mean,
right.
There's no doubt about that.
You know what he said, Puppet? He goes, "Is this my 10%? Is this my 10%?" Good Lord. He was like, "What do you mean?
Guy, right?
What do you mean I give the church 10%? I thought I get 10%. That was the deal."
Well, the good news is when he was on Morning Joe, I only understood half of what he said.
Well,
they were trying to cut him off. They were trying to get him. They're like, this is going worse than not getting better.
So let's go around the room. I'll go to you Defender. I'm going to go to you first because I can say Defender either in Kaidi. Let's go to you first. And what do you think? Is Biden dropping out? Can this dude be saved?
I personally hope he stays in.
Me too.
But knowing the Democrats and what they will do, they don't want him in there. They're going to find a way to get rid of him before the election, and it's going to be the chaos that they want. So they've got the DNC convention coming up, and I expect that something will happen by then.
Yeah, that's it. That's a lot of people think so. Amanda, what do you think?
I feel at this point that the Democrats kind of have to accept their fate with Joe Biden because there's a lot of states that he can't even be removed from the ballot at this point, except for death or the 25th Amendment. So it's like, what do? You're not going to have him on some of those important swing state ballots if you decide to switch the candidate, as far as I have heard. And I personally would love for him to stay in the race. I think Trump has a huge chance at victory at this point, as we're seeing in the polls. I think it was said that he's going to get, or it's, being projected that he's going to get 30% of the minority vote, which I think is probably making Joe Biden panic. And he's trying to pander now, which is always painful to watch, but especially painful when he doesn't even know where he is. And he's just always lost now. And it kind of makes me sad, honestly, because it looks like elder abuse to me. But his campaign's just going to keep pushing him. I think his family wants him to stay in it, from what I've heard. I don't know. I hope he stays in, but it's very sad to watch.
No, Hunter is there gatekeeping. Make sure you don't leave the room. Kelly, what do you think? What's going on, Biden?
Well, I think they can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, or as it may be in this case, the preparation H back in the tube. Everybody saw what happened. Everybody knows. They can try to polish it up all they want, but we saw what he's like, and they can drug him up for a couple of media appearances, but everybody saw and everybody knows, and I don't think they're going to sway anyone who isn't already planning on voting for Joe Biden. And what has Trump been doing? Trump's been sitting in court because of you old pedophile. I hope I don't get you booted off a platform for saying that, but again,
no. Apparently, they like pedophiles now.
It's lawfare and election interference. So, what he does is he sets up this scenario. He sets up these trials for Donald Trump, and then he goes back and criticizes Trump for being in the situation that he put him in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Puppet. What's your stuffed puppet pundit patriot head think? Wait. His mouth is moving, but I don't hear him talking now. It is my birthday.
Pillow puppet pundit.
Oh, now he's talking.
Yeah, whatever.
Right. I thought it was a birthday present, and I wouldn't actually hear you, but go ahead.
Shut up, puppet. Kelly, that
Holy
was good.
crap.
I really don't think that Biden is doing any of those lawsuits against Trump. Obviously, Biden's a figurehead, but I mean, he's not making any. He doesn't know. I mean, he doesn't know where he's at. I mean, he's looking at that in that church, going, "Who put me here? What the hell am I even doing here?" Like, am I supposed to be? Or like he was just completely clueless. That frown, he's like, "I think I'm in a racial jungle over here."
He does seem very uncomfortable.
He's terribly
in those situations, and they keep putting him there. They're like, Biden, we're losing the black vote.
Yeah.
Go to a black church. He's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do there. Am I supposed to tap my foot? And then Kamala Harris is doing her thing, and I just look stupid. I don't even think he has that much
I don't think he thinks through it that much. I mean, you're giving him a lot of credit there for all that mental inner monologue.
Yeah.
But he's
right.
really uncomfortable there, and he doesn't fit in, and it's a mess.
You're very wise,
monologue is
Carlson,
Gilligan's
for
Island.
having a brain made out of stuffing. You're very wise.
Thank you.
And when I say Biden, I mean the whole regime, because we all know, the lights aren't even on, much less nobody home. We know that he's a, pardon me saying so, but he's a puppet. Okay, he's
a puppet.
An evil puppet.
A bad puppet. We got a good puppet. He's a bad puppet.
That's why I'm here, because I point out all the puppets in politics. They got too many puppets in politics, that's for sure. Too many, surely on the left, but there are some on the right too, and that's what I'm here to do. Is I'm the people's puppet. Damn it,
you are the people. The plush pillow-headed people's puppet pundit.
That's patriotic pundit.
And I'm Pollock's best friend.
Pollock's. All right, listen.
Listen, I got something to say about this, though, real quick.
Oh,
and
then
then you can pick it up, Dave. I'll throw it back to you. But here's the thing. Biden gets out of the race only when the donors get out of the race, essentially. So when the money dries up, he's going to have to move along, because there's nothing they can do at that point. He's nothing he can do at that point. He's a stubborn old bastard. He's not going anywhere. His family wants the gravy train to continue, of course. Jill wants the power and to be I don't know, she's being a figurehead behind the scenes. Now she's being in front of the scenes. Now she's like kind of taking over. Like, shut up, Joey. Sit there. You're a good boy. I'm running this bitch. And she's crazy. She's crazier than he is. And but when the donors are coming out now, they're starting to say, I ain't putting any more money up if Joe Biden's a candidate. I'm out. And they're not just out on Joe Biden. They're out on the whole party. When they start funding the DNC, when they stop funding all of the Democratic candidates, they're going to have to put that pressure is going to rise to the top, and Biden's going to have to move along. And but it does create a mess, as Amanda, you were saying, like he won't even be on the ballot in some places. And this is a disaster for them. I don't know how they're going to come out unscathed. I don't know. They get rid of him, but then the ballots are screwed up, and then they put cackling Kamala in there. I don't know how it works out in their favor, but I'm glad. I want Joe to run, because ultimately I think we have the greatest chance against Joe. Not that I'm really that worried about Kamala, but at least if they put Kamala in, then they can say, well, it's a candidate you've never seen before. It's an administration you've never lived under before. And that creates the question mark. And right now we have Biden. We know what it's like to live under a Biden administration. We've already been there for 4 years. It's a terrible mess. Everybody knows it. So we've got that in our favor. When you switch the candidate out, you always add question marks, and then you can get, people moving over just because, well, it ain't Biden. So
no,
it ain't Biden and it ain't Trump.
I don't know that the border czar is going to do any better.
The border czar. I mean, talk about a record.
In a lot of ways, is more difficult to watch than he is. No. I've never seen her say anything that makes sense.
No, I mean, we just have to be unburdened by what was, or what is.
I don't know if I prefer mumbling or word salad. I mean, it's like right, really, really bad.
Hyena cackling. Real quick, I don't know if it's because it's my birthday, but Pilled is giving a lot of love. Just Jim over there and Maven over there, they're dropping shades. They're being real nice to us. And by the way, Just Jim says that's ridiculous. I just had to throw that over to you. And then over on X, we have a good one of my new besties. I'm not going to tell you, I have a nickname for him, but on X, he's telling everyone he's Mike Flynn Jr. And he's out there talking about, he's actually defending Biden, guys. This is breaking news. He's saying Biden, this is what Junior's saying. He said, Biden is doing great, guys. His mental acuity is phenomenal. Don't make fun of him. Yes, Joe, stay in the race. And then Mike says that they're banking on illegals voting. And that is exactly what is going on, obviously. Now, and actually, thank you, Michael Flynn Jr., because what he did is he gave me a great segment to this next thing I want to talk about for the next 5 minutes. And this is after a huge conservative victory in the European Union elections. Of course, France freaks out. They do a snap election. And now this is what's happening in France. Check it out. Now, of course, the rioting was in celebration because
they riot when they win, they riot when they lose.
Exactly.
It's
like climate change. It's climate change when it snows. It's climate change when it's hot. It's climate change when there's hurricanes. It's climate change when there's not. And they riot when they win. They riot when they lose. They like to riot. But I think what we were seeing there is actually a celebration of the destruction of France. They were celebrating a coup. They have taken that country. Of course, they were pushing back hard against the anti-migrant issues over there. And there's a lot of foreign flags waving around to celebrate.
Yeah, I really didn't see French flags out there. That was not like a let's take back France. This is like let's take France.
Well, and they took
now
it.
It's not France.
And they're coming for us next. So I'm going to throw over to you, Defender. What's your thought?
My fear is that's a preview of what's coming to America in November. And that's why it's important for us to pay attention to what is happening in France right now, because it's going to take over. I mean, I completely expect everything that we're seeing there with all of the riots and the pro-Palestine and all of these things are going to continue to affect us at home. And so, the elections are so important. We all have to take it as our duty to ensure that this does not happen in November.
Yeah, absolutely. Amanda.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, the left riots either way, and they're definitely going to riot. I think Trump is going to get elected. That's my personal opinion. I think there's no way they could even rig it at this point, because I think that so many people are going to vote for him. And that being said, the left is going to go absolutely feral when the results come out, and I think they're going to try to not validate the election. So, I mean, this has already happened on our soil countless times over many different issues: Black Lives Matter, pro-Palestine movement, even, some of the pride parades were getting crazy, going against the Palestines for queers, which is a whole nother thing. But but yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to happen here. It's going to continue to happen here because the left is crazy and they resort to violence when they don't get their way. Whereas, our side seems to resort to fundraising and kind of banding together, and the left just goes in a different direction. So I could see that happening here for sure. It already has.
Yeah. Kelly.
I have to wonder what the good people of France are thinking right now, the people who love their country, who are watching it commit suicide. And I have a concern myself here that we're relying so much on an election, on Trump getting in. But are any of us thinking, what happens if we don't win? Or what happens after Trump? And I think we put so much emphasis on winning elections, and some would say, of course, I work for Mike Lindell, so some would say the elections are rigged. I think there's ample evidence of that. I think we need to learn from the left and learn to fight outside the lines a bit, because we're dealing with Marxism and communism, and they know our game plan. We better change it, because they've read our playbook. They know what we're doing, and they take advantage of it. So we're going to have to learn their playbook, and we're going to have to come up with countermeasures. Of course, elections are important. Of course, running for everything from school board to president of the United States is important, but we have to be smarter than they are, or we're going to turn out like France.
Yeah. Puppet.
Yeah, when I saw that video, I was thinking the same thing, Kelly. Like, this is scary, and it is bigger than an election. Look, I think everybody is hoping that when Trump wins, that he's going to go in there and do what he said he was going to do the first time, really drain the swamp, break down the government institutions, remove the the building blocks of the deep state, tear down the FBI and all of these things, which I believe is what needs to happen. We need to reform government in a smaller, less corrupt, less bureaucratic, less corrupt and co-opt version of itself, right? And that's how we're going to turn back the tide and turn back the clock on all of this destruction and erosion that has happened over, the last, I don't even know how long this has been going on, but it's been going on a long time. I mean, at least since obviously JFK, when they took care of that problem. And now we've got this, but if he gets in there and does what he did the first term, which great, he was, we had a great economy and everything was great. But I don't think he tore down the deep state at all while he was in there. I mean, frankly, I think he got, hornswoggled by deep state operatives who were on his own team and basically caused him to water down his own actions. And that on top of the fact that he got slapped with, all kinds of lawfare during his term that slowed him down from doing things. But, we need a term that's much greater in the, rewind department than the last term. And I'm not sure that even if he gets in, that he can accomplish all of that. And then what happens next? How do we unwind this with or without Trump? And even with Trump, how do we accelerate the unwinding? Because we have to do this because the migrants, the illegal aliens are all here already. Like they're the building blocks of what we just saw in that France video. They are the wave that becomes the new America. And that's what they want. They want the Great Reset. They want a new America. They want to redefine what America is and what America looks like. They're importing those people. Those people will never vote right. They will never vote for American principles. They're going to vote for whatever they want, whatever their country is. And we're not going to be America anymore. We're going to be something else. And it's not what we want. I mean, it's not what the natural American citizens want.
Definitely not. All right. Well, that's all the time I have for tonight. I love the panel tonight, guys. Thank you so much for all the comments. It's something we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on. And if you want my thoughts on it, go to X right now because we have our simulcasted Twitter space or X space. Damn it, I said Twitter. I'm going to get deboosted. Go over to X. I'm going to be there. Everybody on my panel, you guys are all welcome to join us in there and talk to the audience there. And if you guys want to keep the conversation going, I'll give you my thoughts on all of this. Lots to talk about tonight. I appreciate everybody joining. As always, Amanda, it was great having you here.
Yes.
Remember, everybody go check out raisedrightbooks.org. Defender Heidi.
Heidi.
It was so great having you on the show. Now, you're going to have to come back on the panel next week because we have Mike Jr. coming on next week. That's why he was trolling us here in these comments because he's excited to come on the show and talk to Puppet. So he's going to be on the show next week. And Kelly, I appreciate you so much being here. Guys, remember, go check out realfreedomtalk.com. Check out all Kelly's stuff. And, if you want to go and laugh, go check out Puppet at Puppet Carlson. He's in Twitter jail right now, by the way. He made a
I am. Oh,
bad
yeah.
joke.
I forgot to mention, I cannot post or repost or comment for 6 days because I said these protesters that were blocking the street for an ambulance should get run over by the ambulance, and then they should put him in the back of the ambulance and fix him up.
Yeah, he's been a bad boy.
I'm a bad boy.
He's been a bad boy. All right, I'm going over to my X Space. Thank you for all of the gifts and donations over at Pilled. Thank you for all the interaction and comments, and I'll see you guys in just another couple of minutes on the space. And we'll see you next week, same time, same place, 8 p.m. Monday night. Thank you, everybody.